Hello and welcome to my thoughts on Season 10 Parts 1 through 4, aka Zecora Returns Home. Honestly, it didn't cross my mind to give it a title or look up if it had a title. I wasn't sure how Season 10 would be formatted, but it turns out it's just the same. My bad. So from here on out, things will have more proper titles. So, this is going to be a little different than the previous discussion videos, which you could have probably ascertained from the length of this video, as this is a long-form series that I do not have completed at this time. So I figured just after I finished one issue, I would just record this, and it would kind of be like my first impressions and where I think the story's going kind of deal. So this first one is going to be covering the first sunrise and the first 4 episodes, and at this exact moment I have only read part 1, so this will be a truly blind experience. So let's start things off with the first sunrise. If you haven't read it yet, you can click here and I'll read it for you. Alright, everyone ready? Let's go. So, I'm not going to go too much into it, it's just a pretty chill story. It's not really doing anything cool, it's just like slightly setting up for Season 10. I do like that we follow Spike. He almost never gets to be in the spotlight for these comics, which is good for my throat, but I mean, it's a nice change of pace. Unfortunately, for me, this comic was just so overshadowed by tedium in the pursuit of making a better video for you guys. And just what do I mean by that? Well, I'll give you 5 hints right here. What do these 5 pages have in common? And why do you think I didn't like them? Alright, time's up. The answer is, it's supposed to be 4 in the morning, yet the sky's bright blue. Oh wow, my immersion. So for every scene that shows the outside, I erased all of the bright blue skybox and added in a purpley dark skybox, and then put in stars, and also put in the moon. You know, the thing Twilight's going to be lowering soon. Oh my god, I'm a fucking monkey. I just went to edit this video, and the literal first thing I saw was the goddamn giant blue splotch. How did I miss that? How did I not see it? It was literally the very first thing I noticed when looking at this panel. Oh my god, I'm a fraud. Exposed. Irreparable game state. God damn it. Fuck me. Something must have went wrong when I went to add the moon in. I must have gone to an older thing by accident. I don't know how I didn't notice that till now. God damn it. I swear I checked every single nook and cranny, but somehow missed the giant obvious blue spot in the middle. Whatever. Back to a regularly scheduled program. Had it not been for Fluttershy's section, my sanity may have been spared. But all this goddamn railing was so annoying. If you look closely enough, you can tell that I gave up halfway through and stopped cleaning up the outlines. But on the other hand, everything that wasn't related to me redrawing the entire background was enjoyable. And I know I'm complaining for no reason. I've made the conscious decision to do this. It just felt like the right thing to do. If I had the capability, I might as well, right? I bet it helped you feel immersed, right? Right? Hey, point for me. Anyway, that's basically all I wanted to rant about with the first sunrise. I don't think I have anything else to say beyond that. Writing and concept-wise, I totally enjoyed it. Especially getting to add the funny, the bed, yeah, part. Does anyone actually know what the lyrics to that are? I just make up sounds. Spike is very fun and amusing while he's doing his rounds. Especially the Fluttershy and Rarity sections. Those were good. So beyond the skybox change, I did make 2 other kinds of visual edits. When Rainbow is zooming here, I just thought it'd be fun to add a rainbow trail. I don't think it needed it or anything, I just wanted to draw a rainbow, you know? That's life sometimes. Also, something funky's going on with the magic. In 3 separate occasions, it's drawn inconsistently, and it was just kind of confusing. So for clarity, I drew a magical aura around everything being magicked. Here are the 3 examples. Rarity's hairbrush, perfectly magic just fine. And then everything else Rarity does is just got these light blue splotches casually spread around. But when Twilight does magic, there's just nothing, so I don't know. I just magicked everything. Problem solved. Alright, on to Season 10 Part 1. It is now later that day. Twilight has called in many of her friends for a special mission. The thing that her reign is going to be all about. I love that Tempest is here. I love Tempest. If you don't love Tempest, what's wrong with you? I mean, I'm kidding, but not kidding. You know, go watch the Tempest videos right now if you haven't. They're great. So, my initial concerns going into Season 10 is the cast. It's overwhelming. There's so many characters. That's a lot of voices to do, especially since they're splitting into teams and half of Rainbow's team is the same voice. But that's a problem for future me, because right now we're not focusing on Rainbow's team. We're focusing on Team Accent, the team with the most distinctive voices of any voice I voice. But hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to back it up, because I need to talk about Twilight's monologue. So she's just kind of expunging upon... Expunging? Am I using that word correctly? I clearly meant to say expounding. Twilight is expounding upon what she said previously in The First Sunrise. My bad. FCBD 2020, its official title. And then she passes the mic to Star Swirl. And at first, I was very confused, as the follow-up does not involve Star Swirl at all, nor does it ever involve Star Swirl. So I'm like, am I missing a page? Did I get scammed? I'm so confused. So I look up 10 other sources, and the answer I came upon was, no, it just didn't do anything with Star Swirl. So then I got to make a funny joke. The end. Also, I want to take a moment to talk about this one sentence Twilight says. This is the map of Equestria. Where I purposefully said, this is the map of the world. Because her follow-up makes it sound like the map of Equestria is just getting bigger and bigger. So, like, is she conquering these damn nations? Because, like, I'm pretty sure the point she's trying to get across is that the ponies didn't have anywhere outside of Equestria mapped. Until now. And then, poor Spike once again gets left out and forgotten. He really does get shit on throughout, like, all of the comics. It's really sad, actually. Alright, so now I can talk about the teams. Rainbow's team, I don't know why Lyra and Sweetie Drops are here. For the record, I will always refer to her as Sweetie Drops, just so we're all clear. Like, those two are true background characters. I don't know why they would be invited. At least with Lyra, she's gone to Celestia's school, so her magic must have potential. But it's not like anyone else should know that Sweetie Drops is former CIA, so, I don't know. Ooh, and Team 2, the most overpowered team we have by far, they did not balance this team literally at all. So, like, for the other three teams, you look at them and they're like, okay, yeah, those guys are pretty okay. And then you look at Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy's team. It is stacked. First of all, Pinkie Pie is overpowered. Her caption, the best, is very accurate. She is definitely the best of the 5 main girls. And the only character who could surpass the power of a party pony, Discord, is also right there on her team. With Fluttershy, whose magic is also very useful in very many situations. And then to make up for Discord's lack of any personality, we have Trixie and Capper, who have very high charisma and sleight of hand skills. Honestly, Trixie and Capper are probably too similar. I don't know why they're both here together. And of course, following the best team is sadly the worst team. Unless Rainbow's team is weaker, it's hard to tell between Rarity and Rainbow's. But I mean, it is a very practical team for going to Diamondia, if that is what we're still calling this kingdom. I mean, I don't know what Meadowbrook's going to bring to the table. I guess they just needed some kind of magic, and she's probably magical enough, right, to make up for not being a unicorn? I truly don't know. I don't know why this team has 2 strength types. They probably could trade out Rockhoof for Spitfire, but I guess that would ruin Rainbow's teamwork skills. But yeah, I'm kind of excited to see how these 4 teams will work together. Well, actually, I'm not. I know exactly how Rarity and Pinkie's team is going to go. It's very obvious just based upon who is there and where they are going, so I guess we'll just have to see if Rainbow and Applejack's teams are good enough. But speaking of Applejack's teams, oh boy, Rockhoof's got those eyes on Tempest. And based on the few interactions Rockhoof and Tempest get in this issue, there might be some seeds of a relationship of some sort growing, which is good because Rockhoof needs more friends. Speaking of Rockhoof, I'm actually so glad I did his Legends of Magic issue just before this, just so I could at least acclimate myself to that voice. It's basically flawless at this point. But anyway, Zecora is pissed. She doesn't want to go to Zebraland, so she laughs at Applejack's dead mom. Ha ha! Jesus. What a line. But she gets over herself and decides to help Applejack. So then we get to the docks, and there's a pleasant surprise waiting for us. Mr. Pirate Guy, whose name I forget, Hoofbeard. But now that I'm thinking about it, he's not a sea pony anymore? Mer pony? They're called mermares. Whatever, semantics aside. Twilight went through a lot of work to get you back with your girlfriend. What the hell, bro? But as it turns out, Hoofbeard was not the real surprise waiting for us on these docks. So when I noticed Hoofbeard, I scanned around to see who else was in the background. So you see the donkey and I'm like, is that Cranky? It's hard to tell with the hat on. Then you see the pony he's talking to and he looks very distinct, but I don't recognize him. I was not ready for the biggest reveal of this comic. And the moment Cranky said Ragamuffin was the happiest I'd ever been reading these comics. Hell yeah! But then the existential dread set in as I would have to voice him. I clearly don't know how to speak romantically, but it was worth it. I like that Applejack and Rockhoof are the only ones to comment on his accent, being the characters with the thickest accents here. Also, who is saying this? Is it Tempest? Is it Rockhoof? It's literally impossible to know, so I was just like, well, Tempest laughed there, so I guess she'll just keep laughing, even though it's pretty uncharacteristic for Tempest to laugh. And the follow-up sentence really could be either of them anyway, so who the hell knows? The boat montage is cute and or funny. I don't know why I didn't just say and. I did move this text panel from this panel to this panel just to have a reason to show this panel because, like, panels without dialogue or really any kind of action are really awkward to deal with when editing videos, I mean. I love that Stephen Magnet's here. I love that Ragamuffin's here. It makes sense that Cranky has a boat. He is very well traveled after all. Honestly, you can just kind of feel the care that went into this issue, which doesn't always happen. It's cool. So real quick, I just want to talk about Tempest fighting the storm. So Applejack's like, I have no clue how she did it. But I mean, it should feasibly work, right? Since weather in this world is not naturally occurring, at least in Equestria? It's pretty vague how the rest of the world gets weather, but that's not important. Anyway, Pegasus magic can manipulate weather, and then every now and then, unicorns knowing weather magic is brought up, so it should be very reasonable that Tempest can use magic to disperse this storm. Also, it's nice symbolism of her defeat of the Storm King. Wow. Also, I find it really funny because it just reminds me of that Zuko scene where he's like,
"Come on! Strike me! You've never held back before!"
So I could be talking about every single thing that Tempest says and does, but just assume I think everything involving Tempest is a banger. I just think the comics handle her very well in basically every single situation. But enough about Tempest. We're finally here at Ferocity. That's probably how it's pronounced. That's how it looks like it's pronounced. That's how I'm going to keep pronouncing it. This is taking so long just for part 1. I gotta speed this up. Zecora's still nervous. Tempest gives her a cute little pep talk, but then all of Zecora's childhood friends show up, and she clearly has some kind of trauma with them, and they're like all clearly not zebras, so I'm interested in seeing what the hell this is about, which will continue right now, which I have finally read. Damn, how does he do those slick transitions? So the first thing I want to say, I'm so sorry about Medley Brooks' voice. Anytime she comes up, I just can't take her seriously anymore, and it just kept evolving. And that's my own fault, and I recognize it. Look, they gave me 5 new characters right off the bat. I gotta make up. What do you want me to do? I just picked a random voice. That's her voice. She's Valley Girl now. Rip. But anyway, right off the bat, we learn what the deal is with the other 4 creatures. So Medley Brook and Crystal are Kelpies, and Cactus Rose and Dust Devil are these creatures called Abada. Kelpies, not new around these parts. They are Celtic shape-shifting water spirits. I don't know why they're here in Africa though, but they're here, whatever. But the real thing is, Abada. So right away, what I noticed about them is they're kind of gazelle-ish, and they're not a mythical creature I was already aware of. But My Little Pony's not one to just make up their own mythical creatures most of the time, so I typed it into Google and bam, there it is. It's basically just the African version of a unicorn, but it's kind of like an antelope, but with rhino horns. Wow. I guess I didn't introduce this segment, but this is the part where I do research and tell you what I find. Because, I mean, we're in a new part of the world, and there's a lot of new words being thrown at me, and I would like to know what the inspiration is. I don't know, I just like this kind of stuff. So first things first, farasi. It just means horse in Swahili. And I am pronouncing it correctly. Good job, me. And because farasi is Swahili, and Zecora says the Farashan coast, I was originally thinking that we were going to be on the Swahili coast, which is an area in Eastern Africa. But no, we are not there because our story takes place in Zabrat, aka Rabat, the capital of Morocco, which is right next to Casablanca, aka Casablanco. And another interesting thing about Rabat is that it is one of 4 capitals of Morocco. And why I say this is interesting is because Marini says Prince Abraxas, one of the 4 princes of Farasi, lives in Zabrat. So I'm assuming the other 3 princes will live in the other 3 capitals. So next up, character names. So the obvious Medley Brook and Crystal are water-themed, and Dust Devil and Cactus Rose are based on their magic. As for Marini, I got nothing for you. And with Abraxas, I'll touch on that when we get to him. So, speaking of Dust Devil and Cactus Rose has cool magic. It's like Fluttershy, but with a cool twist. Dust Devil, on the other hand, is uninspired and repetitive. Oh wow, you're so fast. Cool, let me go find the other 20,000 fast characters. I would say it might be a little bit cool if they could make a tornado, since that's what a Dust Devil is. But then again, so can any Pegasus, so why should I care? So if they want me to care about them, they're gonna have to try pretty hard. So the fact that they are given quote-unquote cutie marks, that's weird, right? Not just that they have symbols on their flanks, it's that they're just called cutie marks as well. Because apparently, if they have no interaction with ponies, why would they call them the exact same thing? Especially since zebra cutie marks don't do anything. I really don't understand why cutie marks are even brought up. They could have just not mentioned it, and then I wouldn't be here getting worked up about it. And how much you want to bet the word will never be uttered again? So it just riles me up for no reason. Look, all I'm saying is that straight from our beloved Princess Twilight's mouth, zebras aren't ponies, and only ponies have cutie marks. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Alright, rant done. Anyway, something cool I like about the way Zecora's written. So when she starts yelling at Applejack in, part 1, she's not rhyming at all, right? And then afterwards, Applejack calls her out on it. It's like, why weren't you rhyming? Which is something that comes up almost every time Zecora's in the comics. They're like, ha ha ha, you didn't rhyme. And that's usually all that comes out of it, and they just make light of it. But with Applejack, it sets up a trend of when Zecora is heated up, she doesn't always have time to think of rhymes. I just think it's cool it goes beyond a ha 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 funny moment, but instead goes further on and becomes a character trait. Speaking of character traits, I think Crystal is pretty cool. Any character that's just inherently an asshole stands out and is like, ah, that's refreshing. As opposed to like Dust Devil and Cactus Rose, they're just kind of like, well, they actually haven't had too much dialogue. So I guess we don't really know anything about their character quirks. But so far, nothing's really stood out with them. Well, I don't know why I'm just calling those 2 out. Technically, Medley Brook doesn't stand out either. Technically, but this isn't technically, this is my world where I ruined her and she is so memorable and every interaction she has is permanently inscribed in my brain. Just like the emotional trauma Zecora's experienced at the hands of her friends. So something I want to point out with the flashbacks of Zecora and Marini fighting, when Zecora tells the story, Marini says when it doesn't work, but when Marini's telling the story, she says if it doesn't work, and that's just a cute detail. And then dun dun dun, the Groot Slong attacks. So at first, I was using my good old American dialect, and I was saying Groot slang, but then I was like, that's probably not how that's pronounced. So I looked it up, and yes, it is Groot Slong, and it is a mythical snake thing, and it literally translates to big snake. And it lives in the Wonder Hole. Man, what a great name for the lair of a mythical beast. Wonder Hole. So when Zecora makes her fire potion, Crystal's all like, I liked the purple, but the flames are like literally just orange. Does she just mean the goo that Zecora throws down and then turns to fire? I don't know, I guess it's the only thing purple there. I'm only bringing this up because I may or may not have decided to add a purple hue to the flames. That's a future me problem. Future me here, I didn't. So Prince Abraxas is very interesting. By appearance, it would seem that he's a zebra, but right at the beginning we're told zebras don't have magic. But then in a shining, brilliant flash of light, Prince Abraxas comes and scares away the Groot Slong. It seems like he does have some kind of magic at least though, right? So, interestingly enough, there is a Wikipedia page for the word Abraxas, and it basically boils down to the word Abraxas sometimes pops up in history, and no one can really agree on what it means or where it even comes from, and the Wikipedia page is basically just theories on it. So some people are like, Abraxas is the name of a demon. And other people are like, no, it's an Egyptian god. And then this one guy's like, yo, what if it's just a bastardization of the name of one of Helios's chariot horses? With Helios being the Greek sun god. So this might be the inspiration for Prince Abraxas with his bright shining light. And going back on what I said earlier with Morocco's 4 capitals, there are 4 horses of Helios. So, not saying I solved it, but I think it's pretty solved. So what I'm thinking is that after Team Applejack helps out Abraxas with the Groot Slong, they'll have to travel to the home of the other 3 princes and appease them, and then their mission will be successful, the end. But I think that's enough for now. Oh, Alegre, I forgot. It's funny because it's Spanish for cheerful, ha ha ha, like Miss Cheerly. I don't know why they chose Spanish, but it is what it is. Alright, I'll see you at part 3. So, I just finished the musical number. It's 2 a.m., I'm tired, but I just wanted to talk about it while it's still fresh in my mind. And initial thoughts? I think it came up pretty good. I mean, I haven't done the last section where them as Kiss with the chorus. I'll probably figure something out. Maybe I'll just bullshit it, who knows. Musically, I think Marini's was the weakest part, but I really wanted to just use different styles of music. One might call it a medley of sorts, but it made it a lot harder. I don't know why, but just the drop into Zecora rapping just felt right. So actually, this was the very first thing on season 10 I saw, just for me like checking on which comics I should do next. And it's actually one of the reasons I've been putting off season 10. You know, other than the fact that the first 90 comics are canon, but I'm starting to get into it. I'm starting to actually like the characters. Besides Dust Devil, still hasn't proven himself to me. I'd rather watch Tempest kill that rock. I will say the lightning is cool though. Alright, I'm going to bed. I'm gonna finish this later. And it's later! So, besides serving as a cute transition, the Desert of Infinity opening does a good job adding character to the new guys. The gist that I'm getting is that the Kelpies in Abada are just kind of there, and that Marini is actually the only one that matters, in terms of specifically her relationship with Zecora. And then the other 4 are just like, hey, they have cool powers to help carry the story forward and be a little entertaining. Because as of now, the only specific incidents are with Marini and Crystal. Zecora did say they were all cruel to her, so hopefully we'll find out what exactly that means. I love that Brooke's just like, hey, let's fight. And they're all like, yeah, sure, okay. So I have a feeling that Rockhoof isn't going to be utilized very much. Unless the writer really felt like they needed a comedic transition. It's not even funny, I don't know. It's just kind of lame. Man, poor Rockhoof. So I basically already summed up my thoughts about Dust Devil and the Rock. But I will say, though, me and Crystal, on the same wavelength. Besides just gushing over Tempest, Crystal is pretty cool here, though, with her slick ice slide. So she jokes about the next slide including icicles, but that's just like death, which I mean is pretty funny, I guess. But after using too much water, Crystal's on the verge of death, and the only cure is a song. Hell yeah. I love that Tempest is more disgusted by Crystal's appearance than worried. So the only reason they're singing the song is so Brooke doesn't have to give Crystal her own water. But Brooke gives Crystal her water anyway, so Crystal can join in on the song. And then get chased off by the Groot song, seemingly before they get the cactus water. So it's either a plot hole, foreshadowing, or it happened off screen. Who knows? Also, speaking of cactus water, how did Rose plan on collecting it without, cutting them open and taking it? Doesn't seem like, the cacti would accept those terms. Maybe the Kelpies can just, water bend it out? I don't know. But now that the Groot song's here, Tempest and Rockhoof are finally gonna get some action. Hopefully we get to see it. And hopefully Rockhoof doesn't suck. He's a legendary warrior, come on! So, at the mystical temple in the desert is the Tree of Harmony. Is that what's causing the Groot song to rampage? Did it invade its home? I don't know. That's what I'm thinking right now. I guess maybe we'll find out next time? So at this point, I'm also going to assume that at all of the locations that everyone's going to, we'll also have the Tree of Harmony. So, my game sense is telling me that once you finish all the quests in the region, the Tree of Harmony will activate, and then act as a waypoint, so you can then fast travel between all locations that have the Tree of Harmony. That'd be ridiculous. But then again, the tree is Star Swirl tech, and Star Swirl is known for nothing but his use of interdimensional portals. The comics really love to talk about Star Swirl's portal fetish. So I'm thinking we just solved it. God, alright. That's all for this issue. Time for the next one! I'm so happy the first thing we get into is Rockhoof and Tempest's fight. Barely anything happens in it, but I'm just glad it didn't get left out. And my foreshadowing from earlier paid off! Tempest said the F word. She's grown so much. Which makes it even funnier. She tells Crystal she doesn't like having friends. Get wrecked, Crystal. Also, did not expect Rockhoof to be written kind of coolly. Yay! It's a shame he breaks his shovel. Those two could have totally killed the Groot song. But unfortunately, we gotta enter the Tree of Harmony section, which is weird. Significantly weirder than it was last issue, now that I know how this one ends. So it's not too weird that the Tree of Harmony is here. The Tree of Harmony's done a lot of expanding, so it's not totally crazy that it's here. The temple itself is mostly just the weird part. Why are the girls minus Twilight inscribed on it? Why is this guy inscribed on it? What is this dragon creature on this pillar? Wait, no, that is actually just Cosmos. Literally straight 1-for-1 Cosmos. Why are there lights? I assume the one light is for the current tree in Equestria, and then the second light, obviously, for this tree. I am so confused. What is going on? What does any of this have to do with Star Swirl, right? We have confirmation that he planted the tree, right?
This map, and indeed this very castle, are grown from the seed we planted over 1,000 years ago.
I mean, that's at least what he thinks, but, why does this picture of the world only show 4 trees? Who the hell cares that the well and the bath don't have water in the middle of the goddamn desert? But perhaps the biggest question of all, why do all of the zebra kelpies in Abada talk in pony slang? Why do they say every pony? It's driving me crazy. I hate it. 20 years ago, they thought ponies were mythical creatures. Stop saying every pony. I'm losing my mind. Nothing makes sense anymore. Not that the Tree of Harmony ever made sense. What do you mean? Of course the tree can make a locked box that can turn items that have nothing to do with the tree into keys for it. Of course that box contains the power to go Super Saiyan. It's so obvious. And then poof, Cactus Rose steps on the generosity box, and then everything makes sense. I love that Zecora's reasoning for generosity is that she tried to give Crystal her water, even though Brooke tried to do it first. But I mean, at least that is an act of generosity. And suddenly, now it all makes sense that Marini shoehorned in the fact that she can't lie. It had absolutely zero relevance at the time, but now it all makes sense. And next up, probably the only one who is properly set up and characterized for this role, Dust Devil on Kindness. They had that whole rock scene, and then plus the tiny bit in the Desert of Infinity where they're like, yo, I'm stealing for the orphans. Following Dust Devil, the one that has absolutely zero precedent for being laughter, Medley Brooke. Don't get me wrong, she made me laugh, but I never once saw her make anyone else laugh or think about their happiness at all. The closest thing was she sang a song because she had to. What, just because one of the lyrics in her song was, when you're feeling sad and blue? Oh wow. You know what else her song said a lot? Friends help friends to the bitter end. I would say that's loyalty, but who knows? Because of course, that one stayed for Crystal. Which is why they name-dropped loyalty itself when she saved Dust Devil. The way Applejack phrases it is technically just generosity though. I don't know, man. She just used the water that she needed for the sake of someone else. Literally the exact reasoning Zecora gave to Cactus Rose. Looking at the entire scenario, loyalty is not the word that comes to mind. But Zecora being magic though, in terms of a story beat, is a really sweet ending. Though I mean technically it is friendship. And I didn't see her do any cool acts of friendship to show that she deserved it. I am glad they just killed the snake though. He didn't deserve kindness. Still never explained why he's chilling here though. He's just coincidentally living with the Tree of Harmony. And it's not like he's been attacking because he wasn't doing that when Zecora was still there. So him attacking is a somewhat new occurrence. What started it? Why? The question was never answered. He's just there to be killed by the elements. But oh well, that doesn't matter because the story's over. The end. How does the activation of the tree correspond to water returning to the region? That's what I actually don't understand. Ah yes, that is specifically the one thing I don't understand in this comic. So apparently, we don't need diplomacy with any of the other princes. We just needed one. Mission successful. So, I've got a feeling that Twilight's diplomacy mission is going to get completely overshadowed by this Tree of Harmony quest, which suddenly makes more sense why they're sending a party to Abyssinia anyway, because I'm pretty sure Cat is already pretty friendly with Celestia. Ooh, if we're going to Abyssinia, will I finally get a name for him, or will I just keep calling him Cat? That's the real question. Oh, speaking of Abyssinia, I wonder if Cosmos will also be inscribed on their temple? And if Discord will have anything to say about it? Probably not. But I'm guessing we're going to Rainbow Dash's team next, based on the paper at the end, Mountain Temple. Are all of these trees inside temples? Why isn't Equestria's tree inside of a temple? It's just in a random cave. I would hypothesize it's because Star Swirl stole this tech and the tree in Equestria is a fake tree, which the painting of the world with only 4 trees could support, but once again, that doesn't make any sense because there's 5 lights. So who the hell knows what's going on with this tree stuff? And whoever's talking at the end here says it's been multiple thousands of years. That is before Star Swirl, right? I know Star Swirl seems pretty timeless, but he doesn't have like an extended lifespan like Celestia or anything, I don't think. Man, I'm still thinking about those inscriptions on the wall. They have to mean something, right? It's not like they're just purely background. Dust Devil specifically points them out. If it was just that one guy, I would accept that it's an Easter egg because he's literally everywhere. But the fact that Cosmos is also just here, it's gotta mean something, right? Because I mean, she just had a reference in part 1, so why would she need a second one? So I mean, there's really only one conclusion. That one guy is totally in on it. Yep, you heard it here, folks. he is part of the super secret shadow organization of the Tree of Harmony. I mean, if you even look at his singular speaking line, there is more than one of everything. It was what he's talking about the whole time. There's more than one tree. It's so obvious. Man, I'm just solving everything left and right. But then again, he only appears in comics drawn by Andy Price, and he is also the co-author of Cosmos. That I can tell, at least. I don't really feel like going through all 90 comics playing Where's Waldo. But also, why are the girls there? It could just be as simple as they were the 5 who created the spark for the elements of magic. But then again, they weren't the first to do that. Celestia and Luna did it before them. But maybe no one cares about them. Speaking of Celestia and Luna using the elements, I wonder if the other 3 trees will also respond to 6 characters. It doesn't have to be 6. Just because Twilight needed 5 others doesn't mean everyone needs 5. I hope the rest of the missions are not about activating the elements of harmony in all the regions, because that sounds boring and repetitive, but that looks to be the direction it's going. But I think I'm out of guesses for the future. So, Season 10 overarching plot aside, just looking at these stories as their own little Zecora arc, I really liked it. I do think it would have been improved by removing, all of the Season 10 pretext, the Tree of Harmony stuff, because a lot of the characters really were underdeveloped. But I mean, that's always the weakness with having to set up plot, right? This is just the first part of Season 10, so hopefully it pays off later. Because like I mentioned earlier, the only relationship that really seems to matter is Marini's. And because the other 4 are underdeveloped, it just kind of undersells the importance of them being the spark to create the elements of magic. Shouldn't that feel like more of a big deal? That there's suddenly other characters that can use the elements? So let's compare it to the actual show for a sec. I know Twilight just suddenly whips them out episode 2, but they really do spend those first 2 episodes super honing in on why those 5 represent the elements. And here it's just kind of oh, just cuz. Kinda like Twilight becoming an alicorn. It should be a big deal, but it just kinda happens for no reason. Why not? Is that a hot take? I truly don't know. But I think the episode where Twilight becomes an alicorn is dog water. What am I talking about? I'm trying to say that I liked this story. I am trying to say that. Oh yeah, that was my point. The characters didn't get enough screen time for the elements to just suddenly appear. That being said, Zecora had pretty good characterization, which as the protagonist really is all that matters. I'm trying to think of examples, but maybe I'm just realizing this actually isn't a good story. Part 1 and Part 2 are actually really good, I think. They do a very good job setting up the story, the conflict, and introducing all the characters while maintaining interest. But, so there's 2 conflicts here, right? There's the obvious big bad boy, the Groot Slong, and then there's Zecora's internal conflict with her perceptions of her friends, with the latter being the true heart of the story. Zecora thinks all of her friends hate her, and that's why she left Ferocity. But when we get there, and as we meet all of the characters and spend time with them, we realize that that's just Zecora's interpretation. Only Crystal was truly mean to her. Her friend's lack of direct positive support for her interest in magic gets twisted in Zecora's mind over time, until she believes that they think she's stupid for trying to learn magic, and there's no hope that she could ever do it. So I mentioned this before, but Zecora and Marini's account of the same instance. Zecora recalls Marini saying when it doesn't work, but what Marini really says is if it doesn't work. And it all comes back to a word Zecora says twice during the story: pride. Zecora keeps saying that they drove her away from Ferocity, but the actual truth is she pushed herself away. Because she thought her friends didn't believe in her, she pushed herself even harder to obtain her goal, and in the process, pushed herself away from her friends. And in a big blaze of glory, pun intended, she shows her friends just how powerful she's become. But here's the unfortunate thing. All of this conflict is set up and resolved within Part 2. Part 3 just begins with Zecora dropping the F-word to Marini, and it's oh, guess that's done. Years of emotional trauma undone by a few positive remarks. Why so fast? Because you had to shittily incorporate the elements of harmony to the background characters? Because that's all Part 3 is about. Part 3 does have Crystal's apology, and that's actually so huge. Where was this with everyone else? That's what the story is really missing. And that's why I don't know how to feel anymore, because Part 1 and Part 2 are actually so good, but then 3 and 4 are just like, why am I here anymore? At least Part 3 was fun and entertaining. I did enjoy the musical section. I don't know what you guys thought about it, but I had a good time making it. And Part 4 did have cool Tempest Rockcliffe moments. And I am curious how this Tree of Harmony stuff will progress. So I guess, Part 3 and 4 are good enough. It's just a shame that the quality so heavily dropped just for the sake of the overarching Season 10 story. I think that's all I have to say. So, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and until next time.